Hi everyone, it's Karen and I'm back with my first design team project for the month of May for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy, and I will leave links in the description box below so that you can easily pop over to her store and shop and pick up some beautiful pieces of lace or some embellishments or trims and make some pretty things of your own. I hope that these little I'm calling them storage solutions. They're absolutely gorgeous storage solutions, but it's exactly what I have or on my desk. Everything on my desk is in containers that are embellished and covered with laces because it's part of what inspires me. When I sit down to my desk and I see all these things, it right away makes me feel like, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. So maybe if that's something you might want to try. So these are little ephemera or lace holders, and that's what I use them for on my desk. This is a single one, and these two have 3 sections to them. And so the ones that have 3 sections are more for ephemera, for paper, and the single one I use to hold little smaller snippets of lace in. So this one is made from paper, and it is actually 3 envelopes that are covered in just scrapbook paper, and then I've put some washi tape down the side. I put gussets in all of my pieces so that the pouches are bigger and can hold more. And then, of course, decorating is so much fun. What I've done on this one is I've used a piece of that large lace that she sent that was quite wide, and I just took a piece of it and I connect it over the back of these so that it becomes the cover for the opening at the top. So I leave them otherwise open, and that's how this one looks. And at the very end, if you're interested in how I put together this particular style of one, I'm going to do a short tutorial at the end and show you how I make this particular style. And so this becomes your cover over the top. And even when these get if they get quite full, it's like that, it just sits over the top like that. So there it would be a bit wider, filled with some different ephemera pieces. And usually what I do is when I'm working on a project and I go through my digitals or through my scrapbook paper, and I find pieces that are in the color palette that I am working with, what I will do is, if they are pieces that are not fussy cut out yet, I will sit and do all the fussy cutting. And then I use these to put the fussy cuts that are all cut in. So butterflies, flowers, words, anything that I think will go with my project. And then I have this sitting on my desk, ready to just grab and go through when I start to actually do the embellishing on my project. So that's just how I use them, and I find it really useful. And so, this leans up against, something else on my desk. I mean, I've got lots of little containers, but it will sit propped up against that and be easy to grab when I want to go through it. I used one of the dangle pieces that Kim had in my design team package. These are so pretty. And of course, it was a whole bunch of them connected together. I just took one off, and then I put one of the little pink flowers in behind that, and then one of the cabochons on top, using it as a center for that flower. And that created the front here. And then underneath, just because when that's flipped open and I'm flipping through it, I like to have something nice to look at on this side. And so I just added in some little fussy cut pieces from the pink trim that I had, and the same one is across the top. I used a piece here, and then I took that same flower from that trim and I created a butterfly out of it. And that's what's fun about Kim's trims, is you can cut them up, so you can use it as a whole piece. You can cut it up and add it in amongst your papers to add more interest and more texture. And the same with the flowers. I took that flower, I cut some of the petals away, kept 4 for the little butterfly's wings, and then I added one of her little acrylic pieces that she sent me right in the center there, added a couple little pearls on some filament for the antenna. And then I used a couple of the little dangle parts, can't find my words, and I added those just in there as well. So just showing you the versatility of what you can do with the trims. You can take them apart, you can make flowers out of them, you can make butterflies. Whenever you have a flower, you can usually make a butterfly out of it, because you can see I took that one and these two away, and you end up with that sort of the bow. When you could, that also could be a bow as well if you wanted to do that way. So there's always more you can do with them. So the back, I just used that same trim. Of course, it came over the back. Then I cut out a couple of extra of the flowers out of it and added them in. This is an extra one, just glued on this one, just to add in a little bit more onto the back. And then I took another piece of this lace. You can see on the front, it has these beautiful scallops on it with this sort of feathery trim on it. I took a piece and put it here in the corner and added a bit of the one pink lace, the peachy pink lace trim that I had, and then another one of the little roses that's from this same trim here. And I just did that little collection in the corner just to accent the back. For me, even the backs have to be pretty. So, and this would also make a beautiful gift to give someone. You could fill it with some of their favorite fussy cuts, or not even cut them all out, but just fill it up with different pieces, and so that they could do their own cutting, and then just put this in an envelope and send it out. It's fairly flat, so it doesn't end up costing too much to have it sent, or hand delivered is even better. This is a single one. I also have several of these on my desk with snippets in them. So I often will color coordinate my snippets so that when I'm, again, working on a project and need blues, need mauves, need purples, need beiges, whites, I have them close at hand, and I can go through the pouch and find what I need. So this is a little pouch created with a fabric sample, and Kim had sent me some of these fabric samples last year, I think. She had some in her store, and so if you ever can get your hands on them, they're often really very high quality materials that the fabric stores have for showing samples. I think also in upholstery shops they have them. And then I used a piece of that ribbon that was tying my design team package all together. I used that on the front, and then I added a piece of that ruffled pink and white lace with the little rosebuds on it. I added that onto the front as well. I added some gussets using the ribbon again. I used the ribbon to make the gussets, and again, I'll show you how to do the gussets in the tutorial, and you can make the gussets after I show you. The gussets are easy to put in anything. So this is a fabric one, and it always gives you more room in your pockets because you're not stitching this together and then losing space, and you're not gluing it together, which also the glue spreads and you lose room. This always allows you to be able to open something up really nice and wide and give you a nice, lots of room inside. And so you can see I've just got little snippets of some blue lace, a little bit of white in there as well, and some other little bits. And I've just finished off the front with a piece of the pink trim. Same here. I just undid that stitch at the top and made it a flat trim, and then added, and with the piece of lace, white lace over top, and then I added a few of these little pieces in from the one peachy pink trim. And if you want to know more about the laces that I used, my design team package video is just the previous one, and you can go back and have a look, and I describe them all more fully. So, and then you can find them in the shop. And if you're having any trouble finding them in the shop, you can leave me a message. I'll try and help. You can also message Kim through her Etsy shop and ask her about them. So that's the end of the fabric there, and then you can see the ribbon where I attached it on. So that flaps over. The front, I did a collection with that same peachy pink trim with the scrolly bits on it, and then I added 3 of the pink little acrylic flowers that Kim had sent me in my design team package. And then I've made it into a butterfly. Again, it's from the beautiful trim that was in my design team package that had all the sequins and the pearls and everything on it. This is actually a flower on the trim, but again, with this particular one, all it has is extra sprays coming out here. So I just took away 2, I think, and left 2 for the antennae, and then voila, you have a little butterfly. And on the back of this one, I put a piece of that pretty ribbon again. It matched really nicely with this blue fabric and I liked it. And then I had a piece of this left. Again, this was in Kim's shop. She might actually still have this one in her shop because it is I think a common one that she restocks. It's really pretty dangle. And I just added that to the back. I like the movement that it creates with the dangle, and I just liked how it looked with that ribbon coming out from behind. So that's the single type pouch that I make, again, with the gusset sides to make it nice and roomy. And then this is the final one that I created. And this one is made with book page. And this is the one that I'll show you how I created it in the tutorial that will follow at the end. If anyone is interested, you can look at that tutorial. But it's created with a heavy book pages with a floral pattern on them. Use a good quality cardstock. You could use book pages that are glued together if you didn't have really heavy pages. You just want something with some substance. That's why in this first one, I used envelopes for my base. And then I just covered them with scrapbook paper to make them pretty. But I mean, a white envelope, you could even leave it completely white. I mean, I've left them white inside. I just put the paper over the top. I like the way it's finished when it's rolled over the top. But these are just white inside and they would have been white outside, and you could have just put some embellishment on it. I just chose to cover them in scrapbook paper because that's the way I wanted to do it. But there's certainly lots of different ways that you can do them. And when I show you the tutorial, you'll see how you'll be able to use other things. This one, for the top that covers over, I used a piece of the rose fabric that Kim sent me, and I also used the netted fabric with the silver leaves on it. And what I did was I took it to my sewing machine and I sewed the two pieces together. So there's a pink stitch all the way around, just to make them really easy to manage. And then I just attached it at the back here. And the bottom of here was a part of the book page, but I didn't like the flowers that were poking out there. They didn't go nicely with these roses. So I had this paper in my stash and I just added that along the bottom. And then I used the leaf trim to over the seam that's created from where this fabric stops and where this paper starts. And I love that leaf trim because it's excellent for doing something like that, for putting around a photo or something that's small that you want to put a border around it. It always works really beautifully for that. And then on the front, I added in this beautiful piece that is another from the design team package. This is just such a pretty, pretty delicate trim. And I liked it just swooped kind of there a bit. And then I created a flower for the corner. And what I did was I took some tulle that I had in my stash and I just made a quick little fold over flower. I added in her beautiful leaf trim, and look how pretty that looks in a flower. Just 3 little pieces and then one of her beautiful blings right in the center. And this bling with this silver fabric, I mean, it is such a pretty complement to it. It's so nice. And then on the inside of this one, this was the book page I used, and it had this beautiful flower on it, rhododendron, and they're blooming everywhere where we live right now in all these beautiful colors. And I just thought it was so pretty. I wanted to leave it, and so I just added a piece of this pretty pink trim along the top that was in my design team package. And then I used 3 of the pages from the book, and some of them I lined them inside with the pink paper. This one I did not. I've already put some little, I don't know if I was given some of these little die cuts, and they're so delicate, but they're a great thing to keep in these little pouches. And then this is the final one, and I did end up lining the inside of this book page with my scrapbook paper because I didn't like the flower that was in. Actually, it was like a Christmas flower, and it just did not go with the whole. But it's easy enough to do that. And then I used, you can see the gussets are in there, and I'll show you how I did that. And then to make one of these little storage solution pieces that you can have on your desk, filled with die cuts, with fussy cuts, with pieces of like little snippets of lace. There's just so many uses for them, and they look pretty. And I love that. I love my desk. When it's not piled high in the middle of my creating. I'm really trying hard not to do that. And so I, put things off to the side of my desk so that my desk in front of me has these beautiful pieces that I can reach for and get the goodies I need to do the crafting I want to do instead of searching everywhere for things. And being, just being more organized. I'm a very organized person when I'm not crafting, but when I craft, something just goes right out the window when it comes to staying organized. I wanted to just quickly show you a couple of others. This is another one I made just recently. This was sort of, I was practicing and doing them, and this is the same idea. This one I've just put a little ribbon on it with the little buckle, and it just pulls apart. And this one is a single one, and this one would be one great to send. I put some parchment paper, colored, and music paper in there that is on parchment paper, so it has that wonderful sound to it when you open it up. And it just has a simple lace closure on the top and a little bit of lace and trim in there. And this one I just did the buckle. It's just fun to do different closures on them. The ones I have on my desk I keep quite simple with just the flip top that I showed you on these last ones, because honestly I just don't want to take the hassle. But I did this one I thought would be pretty as a gift. And on the reverse side of it, I've done a huge amount of embellishing, including making a lace rolled rose and adding in other pieces and beading and other. These are little butterflies made from flowers, and really did it up really fancy. So that one's going to go out as a gift. And then this is the other one that I created that is got the pockets. This one has 4 pockets. So it opens up really big. You can see I've got lots of my fussy cuts and things in there, words in the front. It's all done the same way. It's got the gussets. It's got the big doily on top is my flip over that becomes my closure on it, and it just sits really nicely on my desk. You can see that it gets wider with all those goodies in it, and the closure still sits nicely over top, and then a little bit of embellishment on the front. But I just love them. I think they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to give as gifts. You could put gift cards and things in them as well. I hope that you will give them a try. If you're interested, the tutorial will follow, and I'll show you how I created this one. And if not, thank you for stopping by. Please check out the other designers for AngeldreamCraftsKim. They are creating beautiful projects to inspire you, and I will leave links to their YouTube channels in the description box below. I'd appreciate a thumbs up if you found this at all helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, I would ask that you would consider to do that as well. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now. Hi everybody, I'm back to do the tutorial part of this video. And here I have my book pages. And I believe the book pages measure about 7.5 inches wide by 9.5 inches tall, but really the size is not important because you can do these little storage pouches any size you want. And again, if you're doing it for a gift cards and other little goodies, you can do it to fit exactly the way you want. So this is the size I'm working with right now, but certainly it's not the only size. And I've partially covered in what would be the back side of the page before I put the gussets in, because I didn't like the pattern on the whole back of the page. And so I just used some scrap paper. This one I have already done the gusset on, and I didn't mind the page that I tore out of the book on either side, so it's just left the way it is. And you can see the gussets inside and how nice and big the pocket is. And then the back one still needs to be done. And this one I didn't like what was inside that, so I completely covered it with some scrapbooking paper. So those are the 3 book pages that are going to make the pouches. And like I said, you can also use envelopes is what I used in the other one that I showed you, and that works really well too. And with the envelopes, you would just open up the sides to put in the gussets. So these are the gussets made from the same paper that I used from the book, and I make my gussets 1.5 inches wide. I just find that that's a really easy width to work with. It gives you, when you fold it down the center, it gives you 2 3/4 inch pieces to glue down to make your gusset, and I just find it simple. So I usually, unless I'm making a very small pouch for some reason, I use 1.5 inches. And I don't score and do all that fancy stuff. I just fold it down the middle and burnished it well with my scissor handles, and now I'm going to put it in place. So I need 2 of them, and 1 for each side. And that piece of paper, I thought it might be long enough to make both sides, but it wasn't. So I, again, a 1.5 inch piece of paper and folded down the center, and that will become the other gusset to make one pouch. So just burnishing it again with my scissor handles. Have a bone folder, just not sure where it is at the moment. You know how that is. Things get swallowed up on your desk in spite of trying to be organized and still can't find things. So gluing it in place, you want to glue it with the folded edge against the outside edge of your envelope. So the open part will face into the center of your envelope. And you can measure however you like to measure. I am sort of a, you know, whatever. When it comes to measuring, I'm not really fussy about it. I just bent it over there just so I wouldn't put too much glue over the edge. Align it up really well. So again, your folded edge of your gusset is against the side of the envelope, and the open part of it is to the inside. Keep it away from the fold by a tiny little bit, otherwise it will bind, and then cut off your excess. Like I said, if you want to measure and do all that, you do what you like to do when it comes to that kind of thing. Now, here when I went to fold it up, I could feel that it was binding. There was some excess there. So I will be going back and fixing that up so that, but I'm just going ahead now and putting in the other gusset for now. And then I'll show you what I do for that. It's great when you make mistakes when you're doing a tutorial. I don't really call them mistakes. It's just the way it goes. Sometimes when you're placing the gusset in, you just put it too close to the fold. And so it's an easy fix. Again, glue down the side of the gusset. The fold goes against the outside edge, and the opening goes towards the middle of your pouch. Press it down well. Burnish it however you like to burnish it, and then fold up your page to glue it together. Now here I felt the binding, so it was you can see it's a little bit too long and it's getting right into the fold, so I just trimmed a little tiny bit off. And then the same thing, I ended up doing the same thing on the other side. If when you go to fold up your pouch you feel that it's not quite folding up neatly, then that's what your problem is, and just go and clip that tiny little bit of paper off at the end there that's sticking right into the fold. And then you're going to apply your glue, and I find it easiest if you do gussets at the same time rather than gluing one side then trying to glue the other side. So glue both in, and then put the glue on the other side of each of the gussets like I'm doing here, and then fold your pouch up and directly on top, and you get a really nice match and easy to burnish them and have them glued in place. And then if any of your gusset is sticking out the top, like I think on one of these, the one side is sticking up a bit, after you feel that you've got your glue glued down, then you can cut that off. This is a little roller I use for rolling when I'm gluing projects, especially something like this. It's actually for diamond painting. It's for rolling down your diamonds when you're diamond painting, but it works amazingly for when you're gluing things. And so you see I cut the top of that gusset off, and now there's my little pouch all ready to go, and gussets are in place, and I've got this nice big opening that's going to be one of my storage pockets. So the second one is done. Oh, I did that one ahead of time. I'm going to go through it one more time so that you can see exactly the steps, and then I'll show you how to put them together. So here I'm just going through the steps again for anyone who just wants to follow along and see it one more time. I'm just going to be folding those 1.5 inch pieces of paper in half to form the gusset. and I need one for each side, so I measure out 2 of them. And there's the second one. We folded the same. Then we're placing them in. Again, just remembering to put your folded edge against the outside edge of the paper and the open part of the gusset towards the middle of your pouch. And other than that, it's just a matter of just watching it through a few times. That's why I've done it a couple times, to give you an opportunity to see me doing it. Here I realized I put glue on the wrong side because I want the fold against the edge of the paper. So just apply it to the other side of the pouch. Doesn't matter which one it goes along, as long as the fold matches the outer edge of the pouch and the open part faces to the inside or the middle of the pouch. That's the only important part. Otherwise you won't end up with a gusset. And then I just apply the other one same way with glue. Same principle each time. Just keep following the same steps and your little pouch will come together so simply. And if you wanted, if you want to use this on fabric, like I did the one and I used a ribbon, it's the same principle. You fold your ribbon in half because you want half to go on each side. You put your fold against the outer edge of your material and glue it down, and then glue the other side. Yeah, do the other side and then glue it, fold the pouch up and glue it down to your gusset. Same principle each time. It doesn't matter what you're using. You can also do this. I sometimes use it with just scraps of cotton, like old sheeting or pillowcase material, and I just rip them into 1.5 inch strips and use that as well. There's so many things that you can use for your gussets, and it's a great way to use up. You know, if you have an old sheet that you want to use up, it's a great way to do it. That can become what you use for your gussets. And you can use that with paper too. I mean, you can see here these pouches are a mix of paper and laces and fabrics. So you can use that for your gussets as well. So now all 3 of the pouches are created. And I'm going to show you how to glue them together to make the whole storage folio where the pages are stuck together. So just line them up and make sure you tap them down and they're really nicely aligned. And that's what I'm doing there on the desk. Then put them down very firmly, holding on to the top 2. I use hot glue. It's fast and easy, and so nothing slips. So I put glue down the center, and then I put that in place. Then I put glue down the center between the first and the second one, and then I put that envelope down or that pouch down in place. And then I make sure that I roll that down really well and that glue is well adhered. If you use a wet glue, you can have things slipping, so you do have to hold things tighter and for longer. That's why I choose to use hot glue. It dries much faster and you really get a good hold, and I've never had these pouches come apart. So I love my hot glue. So that's how they're attached. Only in the center, you can see, and that's how they stay nice and wide and open too. So between that kind of attachment and the fact that you have gussets, you end up with these nice big openings on these pouches, which is so, so nice. So here I'm just have that piece of fabric I tell you about at the beginning, and that's what I'm going to use for my the top of my pouch. And you know the rest of the story because I've already told it when I showed you the finished one. You can see the back there. That was where the flowers that were showing that I didn't like. They didn't go with the rose fabric, and that's why I used that rose scrap paper to cover those. And that's what you see in the final product. Other than that, that is it for the tutorial. I hope you found it helpful, and you can play it back and watch it and make one with me. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of the tutorial. And I hope you have fun creating your own folio. I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.